All right, so we're going to go ahead and create a really simple view, a right side view, which I kind of have set up over here already, but I'll just go in and delete these two lights that I had for it. And so let's say you wanted to get a right side view because it has a really nice profile. And so the first thing you want to do is set your view. So I'm going to go into set view and right. So there's my right view. And I'll zoom in a little bit, get it set the way you want it, and then go to your named views and save that guy. So I'm going to save that guy as right is fine for this one. And then what I want to do is I want to come into Inkscape and go to that view. So if I go to that right view and click on it, there it is. And now I want to go to my visual settings, and I want to make sure that I don't mess up my northeast setting because I set up one already and I don't want to go in and change all of the settings and I'll never remember what they are. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to duplicate this northeast one and I'm just going to make it 02 dash right. So now I can set this current and change settings and it will only affect this and I can always go back to this one for my northeast and don't have to worry about, losing some settings. So if I go to my right view, it's going to have all the same settings as the northeast view, which is a fine place to start. One thing I might recommend doing when you're doing orthographic views or anything like that is you can come and actually rotate the skybox. So if I come in and start rotating this, you can kind of get the ambient light based on what the image is doing to help you. If you want a dark side or a light side, you can actually come in and kind of start to manipulate this to give you what you want. So if you wanted it to go from light to dark, depending on what you wanted, you could come in. So I'll come in and let's see, what do you think? Like, maybe something a little like that. I kind of like it the way that it is, where it's brighter in the back and moves to the front. So maybe I'll just pull it a little bit like that. So we have sort of light rolling around to dark. And then I'll close this guy and I'll come in and start setting my lights up. So I'll come into my light tab, go down to add, and I want a rectangular light. And I'll come into my right view and I'm going to set maybe a larger, softer light. I want it to be pretty even. So I'm going to left click, hold down my shift key and make kind of a big light here. And then if I come in, whoops, I snapped something else. So that's not so great. So let's do that again. Rectangular, I'll do it off to the side. Left click here, hold down the shift key, pull it up, and then try a third time's the charm. Left click, hold down the shift key, come up here, and then pull it kind of across to here, and that'll give me sort of a big light that I can move sort of in front of this guy. And then it's going the wrong direction, so I can just type flip, right? And it'll give me the light facing that. Now you have two options to adjust the brightness. You can pull it away from the object, and it will get less bright, right? So you can do that. And now it's just lightening the scene that I already had. So if I turn that off, I get the original scene, and now I'm getting sort of a different, of course, this is hitting perpendicular. You can also, if you want to keep it a little closer and not have to zoom out as far, you can start to adjust this. So if I go to the intensity and go to 0.5, I'm starting to get that. If you get these kind of funny looking things, try going to perspective and going back to right, and it'll start to reset itself, right? Sometimes it just needs to be reset back into, to give it a chance to recalculate the light. So I'll put that one in there, and then let's go ahead and put one more in. So I'll go to rectangular light. I'll left click here, hold down the shift key, left click, and sort of put a smaller one in that I can manipulate a little differently. And so here's this one, right? And it's facing this way. So if I move it out, one thing that's really nice is, again, is to come in and sort of turn your camera on in whatever view you're in, so you can tell, you know, what's going on. So I show the camera. There's my camera, right? And so if I go in and pick this guy, right, this guy is way over here. So if I come in, like I was actually manipulating the wrong light, right? So if I put that back in the front, here's the light that I want. Maybe I want this to actually be behind, be like a rim light. So if I spin it around and move it kind of over here, get it a little further away from the object, not actually in it. And then you can maybe start working in perspective, where you can start to see this guy in perspective, and you can start to maybe move him up. And if you're looking, I mean, maybe even from behind this way, and then getting sort of a rim of light over the top of it, you know, so sort of playing around with how that works. That's kind of nice, you know. So you can come in, and in perspective, once you have a sense of where you are, you can start to sort of play with where the light is falling and how it's catching that object. And then once you get to the point where you're happy with it, again, you can come in and I would highly recommend naming this one like 2 dash. This would be the rim. Oh no, this would be the key, right? So this one's right in front. And then this one would be the rim, right? So you can start to sort of play with, you know, how all of this is working, and start to adjust, you know, how the lights are playing in the scene, and start to use different directional qualities to get, and in combination with intensity, right? And so at some level, you can actually just use, right, the lights with the default settings, but you can also come in, and once you have a lighting condition that you like, you can also play with your visual settings. So if you come into the visual settings now and start to look at different options, you can play with the exposure, darker, and make it a little lighter. Maybe that's a little too dark, and so you can play with the exposure. You can also play with the highlights and shadows. So now the shadows will get darker or lighter, very washed out, not so great, but way too dark and can't see it. So there's lots of different ways to come in and adjust each of these. That one's not doing much, but you can see it's giving you more contrast when you're pulling those highlights up. The color temperature, you know, that one's kind of fun to play with. You can also play with that. Again, this will reset it to default. And then if you go to the atmosphere, you have the artificial brightness, right? So the exposure is the aperture, like how wide is your eye open, right? Sort of the f-stop. And then how much light is being let in. So almost an ISO setting. The atmosphere here, the artificial brightness and all of this, right? This is just turning the lights up. It's just like a dimmer switch, right? So you can go in and start to sort of, and you'll get little, you know, so now that's kind of interesting, that glow coming from in between there. So you can kind of play with, you know, with each one of these. I did start with the sky, right? So again, if I rotated the sky, that would change, you know, what the bright spot is in that sky. And so you can play with that. You can also play with darkness and lightness here. I would work with setting some things pretty consistently and playing with other bits and pieces of it, right? So obviously each thing can make a big difference. And so what you end up using is kind of up to you. Again, I would sometimes just click between these and let them reset, right? And start to look for different views that have a lot of contrast or call out the curvature and the complexity of your object.